Hello and welcome back to Russ's Movie Corner. My name is Russ, and as you can see, I'm sitting in front of my movie corner. I have my Through Faith t-shirt on, my Bible the Epic miniseries right next to me, and judging by the frame around me, it's time to take down another atheist. And yes, this is back to Emma Thorne's Christian school textbooks debunked video. And this is my takedown and debunk of her video. When last we left off, she'd been talking, and I know you can't see from the frame because it's right behind my head, actually, that she was kind of reading from a script from inside of a textbook, one of these ACS textbooks, or ACE textbooks, sorry, not ACS. Been watching a lot of, not really playing Call of Duty so much as watching a lot of Transformers, and so anyway, I have just kind of stuff on my mind. I don't know if I've ever shown this off, but I basically have every single season of G1 Transformers plus the movie, and so I'm really getting into it, and I also have the first 5 films, because I think, I have the Last Night on Blu-ray, but I have and I also have sort of an animated kind of comic book prequel to the movie called Transformers Beginnings. Okay, so this came out in 2008. After the movie had come out, they released this. It says, see what happened before Optimus Prime and Megatron came to Earth in the stylized, action-packed prequel Transformers Beginning. On their home planet of Cybertron, the Autobots and Decepticons are involved in an explosive battle over the coveted Allspark. With the fate of the universe at stake, the Autobots send it far from the reach of the ruthless Megatron, leader of the Decepticons. But there are even more surprises in store when it crash lands on Earth. Narrated by the voice of Optimus Prime, Peter Cullen, this gripping adventure is essential for every Transformers fan. And this was actually something that came in a double pack with the original movie. It was kind of like a collector's edition bonus, I guess you could call it. And I picked it up. I'm trying to remember where I picked it up, but I picked it up. Where did I pick it up? I don't remember exactly where I picked it up, but I picked it up like a thrift store or something like that for a couple bucks. And I have all 5 of the original films. I don't have Bumblebee. I have not seen the new one. So, but anyway, that's just kind of why I was thinking ACS instead of ACE. I have my mind on Transformers things. Okay, so getting back to Emma here. Emma was using this page out of the textbook when we last left off, okay? And she said, basically, she was kind of talking about the power that created the first man, the woman, the plants, the animals, and all life. Not only must there be a power, but that power must be an eternal living being. And then she went, citation needed, and I basically picked up the Bible and said, here's your citation. This right here is a time-tested, archaeologically and anthropologically backed book, historical book, that tells about the origin of the universe. Now, whether or not you choose to believe in it, that's another issue. But it's here. Okay? And almost every time, I think almost every single time, okay, atheists, secular historians, and even Christians alike, when they set out to do something with this book, they end up proving it right. Okay? There's a good book by a man named Lee Strobel called The Case for Christ. And there's also a Josh McDowell book called Evidence That Demands a Verdict. Both of them were atheists. And both of them were issued a challenge. Go disprove the Bible then, if that's what it takes. If that's what you want to do, go disprove the Bible. And not only did they end up proving the Bible, but they became Christians in the process. Okay? So, let's jump back in here, and we will continue.
Nothing they've said requires an eternal being. The Bible states that God, through his Son Jesus Christ, was that first cause. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. It's just very bizarre to me to have this as part of a science education, as part of mainstream schooling.
Why? Why is that so odd? I mean, when I was at Catholic private school, they only just kind of touched on evolution. Just brushed over it. Okay? Because we didn't need to know that. I mean, because we only went through 8th grade, they knew that we would need it for public school, but they didn't touch on it so much so that we were like, you know, receiving this huge education. All the while we were getting, you know, other classes and other things. But okay. John chapter 1. Before anything else existed, there was Christ with God. He has always been alive and is himself God. He created everything there is. Nothing exists that he didn't make. Eternal life is in him, and this life gives light to all mankind. His life is the light that shines through the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. Now jumping over to Colossians 1, starting in verse 15. Christ is the exact likeness of the unseen God. He existed before God made anything at all, and in fact, Christ himself is the Creator who made everything in heaven and earth, the things we can see and the things we can't. The spirit world with its kings and kingdoms, its rulers and authorities, and all were made by Christ for his own use and glory. He was before all else began, and it is his power that holds everything together. He is the head of the body, made up of his people, that is, his church, which he began. And he is the leader of all those who arise from the dead, so that he is first in everything. For God wanted all of himself to be in his Son. Now, I know what you atheists are thinking, because I can hear your fingers clacking on the keyboards right now. Oh, you don't know. Those are not scientific facts. Google laminin. I'll put a little thing somewhere in this video. Okay? I'll say what it is, and I'll say how to spell it. Google it. It is a protein adhesion molecule. Okay? It is what holds all your cells together. Okay? Now, there are going to be websites out there that are going to show you, or there's going to be pictures out there of laminin that are going to show you like 4 or 5 different chains of laminin, and they're going to say, oh yeah, see, you know, these Christians, they talk about laminin, but there's like all these different ones. Ha ha ha, joke's on you. Because the laminin that holds your cells together is the one that is in the shape of the cross So you have trillions of tiny crosses holding all of your cells together. It's how you are held together. Then Google Whirlpool Galaxy Center. Okay? The Whirlpool Galaxy is one of these odd galaxies that we're faced this way, okay, because we're on an ecliptic like this. We're moving through space. The Whirlpool Galaxy is like this compared to us, okay? It's face on. Okay? And so, we took the Hubble telescope and we aimed it right at the center of the Whirlpool Galaxy, okay? It's supposed to be a supermassive black hole in there. Okay? So they aimed the telescope and they took a picture. And that's what I'm saying. Google Whirlpool Galaxy Center. Okay? And again, I'll have a little link up above to say, what it is, how you spell it and all that kind of stuff. Okay? Yeah. That's a picture of Christ on the cross. Colossians 1:17, folks. Now, how would the Apostle Paul have known in the 1st century AD when he was writing this letter to Colossae? Okay? How would he have known? I mean, because we can even look up. Five, 3, 1, 9. Okay, so hold, in that context, strongest concordance, okay, is synestemi. To commend, recommend, demonstrate, bring out, prove, to be, to stand with, to hold together, to be formed. Commend, commends, bring out more clearly, commended, demonstrate, form, hold together, prove that. Okay, so is that going to be the only one that it appears as? Let's see here. Yep, hold together. So it is. So that Greek word right there is synestemi. Okay? And that's what it means, to hold together. So how would Paul, writing to the Colossians in the 1st century AD, before we had electron microscopes, before we had modern science, how the hell would he have known that we're being held together by trillions of tiny crosses that were put there by God? Okay? One more and then we'll continue. This is Psalm 139, 13. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. That was David. Okay? How did they know? They didn't have the wonders of modern medicine back then. How would they have known? Yeah. The mere fact that you're sitting there, Emma, thinking in your head, I'm just a collection of random chemicals that mean nothing in the grand scheme of things, when God has a much better plan for your life. I don't know if you'll ever see this, but as an atheist, if you're watching this video, ask yourself that question.
You know what I mean? Well, as part of your main schooling through this system, this obviously is not mainstream, thank goodness. So I guess to contrast what I, recall learning in school, what I would have had as a sort of equivalent would be, this exact sort of thing, but in a religious textbook, and it would have been like, Christians believe, for a long time Christians believed, some Christians still believe this, most Christians now accept this as potentially metaphorical or allegorical, which is obviously the case. This is the other...
No. No, we don't. We don't accept it as allegorical. We accept it as absolute fact and truth. That's what we accept this as. Absolute fact and truth. Okay? We don't accept it as allegory. Now, are there Christians out there that think that there are certain stories in here that might be some kind of allegory? Sure. But they're not believing in the God of the Bible. They're believing in a God of something. But it's not the God who's mentioned in here. Because, I've heard people say, well, they said that he was out there for like 40 days and 40 nights, and like, that's repeated throughout the Bible. Yeah, so what? A person can survive in the desert without food for 40 days and 40 nights as long as they have water. The Ark, Noah's Ark, was only being rained on for 40 days and 40 nights. That was just the initial rain mechanism. That wasn't the fountains of the great deep breaking open and flooding the world. Okay, most people go, oh, there's only, it only rained for 40 days and 40 nights. That would have been a hell of a lot of rain. Yes, it was a hell of a lot of rain. But that's not what covered the earth. You see, these people haven't actually read the stories. What they probably got is either a kindergarten version when they were in Sunday school, okay, when they were a child, and then later on as they grew up, if they didn't go back to church and they didn't ever hear the story again or read the Bible at all, then they have no idea what they're talking about, which is probably the case with Emma here, and with a lot of people. Like you look at Ricky Gervais, he likes to make fun of the story of Noah's Ark because he gets this little cutesy book out and he's like, oh, look at this book of Noah's Ark. I got this in like the 4th grade. No, you didn't get it in the 4th grade, son. I'm sorry, you didn't get that in the 4th grade. You probably got that when you were 4, but you didn't get it in the 4th grade. And he likes to read it and then make fun of it. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's so stupid, and it's like, Ricky, you're reading a bedtime story for kids. You're reading a dumbed-down version of the actual Bible. In fact, I bet you probably went to the movie Noah and thought it was based on truth. I'll bet you thought that's what actually happened, huh? Sorry, that movie was factually inaccurate. The only thing they got right was like the sequence of events. And even then, it was still questionable. Because they literally had a part where, like, they're all on the ark, okay, and it's like Russell Crowe as Noah is like telling the story of creation. Bullshit. Okay? It was the story of evolution, okay? Because literally it had like single-celled organisms becoming multi-celled organisms, and then fish swimming up and then like swimming onto land and becoming iguanas, which we have never observed, which we never see, not even in the fossil record, okay? And yet you atheists out there will say, that's not how it happened. But that's what your side says. Because Darren Aronofsky is an atheist. And when he made Noah, he made sure to put evolution in there. And that's what your side believes.
The thing about these cult-like, really isolated, insular religious education systems, they don't just isolate you from mainstream science and education and life, society. They isolate you from mainstream Christianity in this case, because most Christians don't believe in biblical literalism or biblical creationism.
That is not true. Because again, as discussed, okay, most Christians actually do believe that this is the literal Word of God. In fact, most Christians, if you were to actually look at the data, the surveys show, and I will throw a link down below to some surveys, okay, most Christians believe that the earth is less than 10,000 years old. Okay? And here's the thing. Even if you were to say, because there's a verse in Peter where he talks about 1,000 years is a day and a day is 1,000 years. Even if you were to believe that, okay, because all Peter's talking about is time has no meaning in heaven, okay? So like it hasn't even been, I mean, it's only been 2,000 years since Christ, okay? and so to God, it's like no time has passed, like only a couple of days in heaven have passed, like days. And I use that term loosely because there is no time outside of our physical universe, okay? Where God is, He is outside of our universe, outside of our time, okay? That's the only thing. But if you believe that, okay, let's say you believe that, because there are some Christians that believe even that, okay? Then the maximum that you could say that Genesis chapter 1, okay, the maximum you could say would be what? 4,400 years to the flood. If we go back the 940 years to the beginning of Adam, because he was 950, I think, when he died. 940 when he died. Hang on one second here. Yeah, 930 plus 130, so 1,060 years. So if we were to backtrack, okay, this is why Kent Hovind says it's about 6,000 years. About 6,000 years is because if you backtrack from Noah, okay, so he was 500 years when he begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and then he was 600 when the flood happened. So if you take it from 600, that was 44, and then add it back, okay, add the dates back, you get about 6,000 years. The initial mechanism for God was the 6 days, okay, in the beginning, right? And if you were to say, day is 1,000 years, 1,000 years is a day, okay? Even then, you go back 6,000 years, then backtrack those days another 6. Well, actually, because man was created on the 6th at the end of the day, in the afternoon, then you would have to say that, Noah was probably, I mean, not Noah, but Adam was probably, a certain number of years old at that time. You would have to backtrack that at least another 5,000 years. So the maximum lifespan of the Earth, according to Genesis, would be between 11 and 12,000 years. Okay? Nowhere near the billions that her side thinks. And the only reason that they think that, okay, because originally they said, oh, it was tens of thousands, not just 6,000, it was tens of thousands, okay? Then they backtracked that to hundreds of thousands, then they backtracked that to millions of years. Then, after Charlie Lyell and the evolution theory kind of got popular under Darwin in the 1830s to 1850s, 1860s, that then they started like ramping up the amount of time, okay? And in the 1960s, or was it 50s, they discovered the cosmic microwave background radiation, the CMBR, okay? It's basically like everywhere you look, there is a uniform radiation signature, okay? Everywhere you look in the sky. It was one of those things where when they set up the Very Large Array, okay, and they started just pointing the radio telescopes in different directions, all they got was like a constant white noise. They didn't know what it was. So they sent up some probes and they started like looking around and they started finding this radiation, okay, that was in the background. And this is kind of where the numbers get screwy, is because they keep changing the time. It was 10 billion, then it was 15 billion, then it was 20 billion, then it was back to 15 billion, now it's 13 billion. They don't know, okay? They're just spitballing. They're just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it sticks. I don't have a clue, okay? They really don't. Because what they're doing is that they look at this radiation and they think, okay, we believe it's decaying at this rate. Because we've never actually tested it to find out if it actually does decay at this rate. But we know that it's giving off a similar signature to this type of radiation that we have here on Earth. And we believe that this type of radiation here on Earth has this amount of half-life. And so if we calculate that radiation, we can then backtrack it to see, okay, this is how old the universe is. And they recalculate it every few years. I'm not kidding. Okay? Because just at the beginning of the 2000s, okay, when Kent Hovind did his original things, it was at 20 billion. When I was in school in the 1990s, it was like 15 billion. Or 10 billion. Okay? They keep changing it because they don't actually know. They don't have a clue. Because what they're doing is they're running on an assumption. And when you run on an assumption, you have to make assumptions about what your variables are. Because you have to have some kind of constant. That's why they say, well, a light year is this much. Because what they do is they say, well, our sun gives off light and it takes 8 minutes to get here. So if it takes 8 minutes to go 93 million miles, then we can take that, we can up it to 60 minutes. Well, that's how far it takes it to go a light hour. Okay? And then that's how far it takes it to go to a year. So that becomes the speed of light. Or what is known in mathematical circles and physics circles as c. Okay? But they're wrong. Because light is not constant. Light has different speeds. Light can speed up, light can slow down. We don't know. Again, we're running on assumptions. And this is what's happening with the Webb telescope. Because these people have come up with this idea from the cosmic microwave background radiation. And they're coming up with this idea of, okay, the universe we know because of this decay rate, because this and this and this, this is how old, 13 point something billion, okay? That's how old our universe is. Okay. So then, when they took a picture with Hubble, okay, and it's kind of interesting because if you look at the picture, it is actually called 3,000 galaxies, okay? Because what they did was they took a picture and they counted there was 3,000 galaxies in this one picture. The interesting thing about this is I actually saw this picture at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. If you were to take a ballpoint pen, I don't have a ballpoint pen with me right now, but if you were to take a ballpoint pen, hold it out at the end of your finger, like hold it, like extend your arm out, okay, and hold the pen between the tips of your fingers, okay, almost as far away from your body as you, almost as far away from your eye as you could get it, okay, then look at the ball on the tip of the ballpoint pen. That's the size of area of space that they photographed that there was 3,000 galaxies in it. Okay? Well, because they knew where that was in space, okay, they knew where the coordinates were, they knew where they pointed Hubble, okay, when they sent Webb, the James Webb telescope up there, okay, they pointed the Webb telescope at that same patch of sky and took another picture because Webb has a much larger mirror because it's made up of mirrors, hexagonal mirrors. There's like 13 of them, I think, all in a big circle, okay? And they can focus those mirrors to gather as much light as they possibly can. And it's a much larger telescope than the Hubble, okay? Like, comparatively, the Hubble would be like the size of a Snapple lid, whereas the Webb telescope would be like the size of a record, okay? There's no difference. I mean, it's like, and maybe it's a little bit bigger than that. Maybe it's, maybe it's about like, Hubble's about like this, but like Webb is about like so, okay? In comparison, in terms of mirror size, okay? Because I actually saw a mock-up of the Hubble sitting in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. I did not realize how big that telescope was. Okay, I knew it was big, but I didn't know how big. I mean, that telescope is gigantic because it's like 6 feet across. Okay, the mirror inside is like 6 or 8 feet across, something like that. And it might be bigger than that. I don't remember. I had a little CD-ROM program back in the day when Hubble first launched, and this was back when like Windows 95 was brand spanking new, or it was like Windows 3.1 or something like that. But it was basically like a little CD-ROM program that had a whole bunch of information about the Hubble Space Telescope. I read everything I could because I was really into astronomy back then. I still kind of am into astronomy. I really do love astronomy. But the point being that when they pointed Webb at that same patch of sky and they took the picture, they got a larger magnification of those 3,000 galaxies. And they started noticing that the galaxies that were the furthest away were rounder and smoother than the galaxies in front. Which means that when they started looking at like how deep field it was, and they started like estimating how far out these galaxies were, they started going, oh crap. These things are older than the Big Bang because they're too young. They couldn't have formed. They would have to form like that. They would have had to have formed and then spread out. Okay, like we're doing. Okay, but they're not. They're like all clumped, which means that they're young, not old, which totally shoots down the Big Bang Theory, okay? Because now they're going, well, we have this cosmic microwave background radiation, which is giving us this number, and we have these galaxies that are older than this number. Help. There it is. And here's the interesting thing. The heavens declare the glory of God. Now, let me see if I can find it really quick. I might have to look it up in my big concordance. See if it says... I'm going to have to look it up in my other one. Hang on just 1 second. Okay. So, in the book of Job, and I've talked about this at length on this channel, in the book of Job, Job has, he loses everything, okay? Loses all of his family, loses all of his livestock, loses everything. And so he goes out, rips his robe, and puts on sackcloth and sits in a pile of ashes. While he's sitting there, his health gets taken away from him, okay? While he's mourning the loss of his family and everything. But never once does he curse God about it, okay? Then his 3 friends show up. And his 3 friends love to sit there and kind of tell him, you sinned, or your father sinned, or someone in your family sinned, or something happened. And Job's like, I'm not doing any of that. And so the whole time he's basically asking God, why? Why me? Why did this have to happen to me? Okay? And this was actually one of the questions that we looked at in my philosophy, religious studies, sacred books of the world class, was the book of Job. Because we were looking at why do bad things happen to good people. Okay? And this was like the ultimate example of why bad things happen to good people. Okay? This is the book of Job. So, Job's friend, Bildad, who is the shortest person in the Bible, Bildad the Shuhite, he comes in after Job talks for about 2 chapters, okay, answering Eliphaz, another friend of his. Bildad comes in, says a bunch of bluster, and then Job replies, "Indeed, I know that this is true, but how can a mortal be righteous before God? Though one wished to dispute with him, he could not answer him 1 time out of 1,000. His wisdom is profound, his power is vast. He who is resisted, or who has resisted him and come out unscathed? He moves mountains without their knowing it, and overturns them in his anger. He shakes the earth from its place, and makes its pillars tremble. He speaks to the sun, and it does not shine. He steals off the light of stars. He alone stretches out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. He is the maker of the Bear and Orion, the Pleiades, the constellations of the south." Okay, the reason why I'm reading this is because it says God stretches out the heavens. Now, Edwin Hubble noticed a phenomenon as he watched certain things. He noticed that things were expanding. He didn't know if there was a center point that it was expanding from, or if it was like we were the center and it was expanding away from us. Okay? He just noticed that things were moving away from each other. Okay? Like he noticed that like certain galaxies that were in one place, like a couple months later they'd be in a different place. Okay? But not like but not like, oh, they moved like from here to here. No, it was like minuscule movements, but they were moving, okay? And we've since observed a lot of this movement, and we know this thing called redshift. And basically what redshift does, it's also known as the Doppler effect. It's basically, as things get further and further away, their wavelengths get longer and longer and longer, okay? Short wave radiation right before visible light, okay, is ultraviolet, okay? The longer wavelengths are infrared, okay? And that's why it's like ultraviolet light is like super wavy, okay? But infrared is like this, okay? That's why it appears different to us when we look, you know, like you look through an infrared camera and things appear kind of a luminescent green that give off heat, okay? That's because the infrared camera is detecting that wavelength of body of radiative heat and like light and stuff, okay? And generally what that does is you have special LEDs that emit infrared light, and that light goes out, bounces off something, and then comes back, okay? Ultraviolet light does the same thing, but it uses a completely different thing. We also call it black light, okay? Because when we turn it on, we don't actually see the light. We just see the bulb is like a blackish color, purplish color, okay? And when it hits us, it can make things like this white on this Through Faith shirt glow, okay? And the reason why it glows to our eyes is because of how that ultraviolet light hits it and comes back to our visual receptors, okay? All right. Now, the next one is Psalm 104. Okay. So, in Psalm 104, praise the Lord, O my soul. O Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed with splendor and majesty. He wraps himself in light as with a garment. He stretches out the heavens like a tent, and lays the beams of his upper chambers on their waters. He makes the clouds his chariot, and rides on the wings of the wind. He makes the wind his messengers, flames of the fire his servants. Okay? This is the foundation of How Great Is Our God by Chris Tomlin, and also How Great Thou Art, the hymn. Okay? Both of those speak to Psalm 104. Okay? And again, I'm saying this because it says, He stretches out the heavens like a tent. Okay? Isaiah 31:3. Okay. Woe to those who go down to Egypt for help, who rely on horses, who trust in the multitude of their chariots, and in the great strength of their horsemen, but do not look to the Holy One of Israel, or seek help from the Lord. Yet he too is wise, and can bring disaster. He does not take back his words. He will rise up against the house of the wicked, against those who help evildoers. But the Egyptians are men, not God. Their horses are flesh, not spirits. When the Lord stretches out his hand, he who helps will stumble. He who is helped will fall, and both will perish together. Okay. So that one's actually just stretching out his hand. Okay. Okay. 40:22. This one was actually given to me in one of my original video on my Flat Earth Bible debunk. Okay, somebody posted this verse. Okay, I'm going to start at verse 21, but this is Isaiah 40. Do you not know? Have you not heard? Has it not been told to you from the beginning? Have you not understood since the earth was founded? He sits enthroned above the circle of the earth, and its people are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. Now, this guy was saying that when that word circle was made, I believe he was saying, like, in Aramaic it meant globe. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't speak Aramaic, so I don't have a clue. Okay? But what is a circle in 3 dimensions? A sphere. Okay. This one's going to take a minute. Oh, the prophets. Zephaniah or Zechariah? There it is. Zechariah 12:1. Okay. So, Zechariah is one of the prophets. Okay? And prophets in the Old Testament, from Isaiah all the way to Malachi, they were there basically when Israel walked away. They were there to say, yo, you're going in the wrong direction, dudes. This is what the Lord's going to tell you he's going to do. Okay? Then he would say, I'm going to do this to punish you. Then you're going to cry out to me for help. Then I'm going to bring you back. Okay? 12:1. Okay? An oracle. This is the word of the Lord concerning Israel. The Lord who stretches out the heavens, who lays the foundation of the earth, and who forms the spirit of man within him, declares, I am going to make Jerusalem a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reeling. Judah will be besieged as well as Jerusalem. On that day, when all the nations of the earth are gathered against her, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations. All who try to move it will injure themselves. So again, he's saying that the Lord stretches out the heavens, lays the foundations of the earth, and forms the spirit of man. We essentially have the 3 parts of creation story. Okay? 3 basic parts of the creation story. Okay? Lord made heaven and earth. Okay? He laid the foundations of the earth. He stretches out the heavens. And he made man. And all the other things. Okay? But basically you get what I'm saying. Okay? The Lord stretches out. Okay? Now, we look at the red shift and we see that things are moving away from each other. The Lord is stretching out the heavens. That's obvious. Okay? And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the Webb telescope. Viewing these things. Okay? The heavens declare the glory of God. And there's nothing that we can do that can change that. Okay? Because the heavens declare the glory of God.
Again, there's no reason you can't have a Christian education alongside a real, tangible scientific education. And it just upsets me that children are completely missing out on that. That children have this, that they're being shown this view that there is the truth, there is Jesus Christ and God, and this is how the universe was made. And then there are evolutionists and people misleading us with their fake science. Like, those are the 2 groups. Like, there's not Christians in the middle with faith and love for Jesus and rational understanding of science.
That's because most of those Christians are the ones that you were talking about that don't believe the literal interpretation of the Bible. Okay? That have tried to inject evolution into the Bible, where they try to say, oh, see, here it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And they're trying to put the billions of years that you guys teach in between those 2 verses. Okay, created the heavens and the earth, and then billions of years later, the earth was formless and empty. Now wait, what? Okay? Or they'll try to inject the billions of years in between the days. Okay? So maybe there was there's 500 million years between the first day and the second day. The third day and the fourth day. What you end up with is, if you try to inject an idiotic theory like evolution into Christianity, is you start to have death before sin. Nothing died. Most people miss this. Okay? Nothing died before Adam and Eve ate from the tree of good and evil. Okay? Because that would have been recorded in here. Okay? After they sin in chapter 3, okay, the Lord curses the serpent, curses the woman, curses the man. Okay? Then it says, Adam named his wife Eve because she would become the mother of all the living. The Lord God, this is verse 321, the Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. The Lord killed animals to make the skin. Okay? Because he was basically showing them, this is how you're going to live. Now, what is leather? It's very durable. Okay? It can last for a very long time. Okay? That's why it was used for so many years. Because it was easy to make. You slaughter some animals, you tan their hide, and you wear it. And you can wear it for a long time. Okay? If you do it correctly, you can wear it for a very long time. Okay? And so the Lord knew that they needed clothes. Okay? Now, they sewed fig leaves together, but those would have died in a matter of hours, and they would have been very itchy, and there would have been bugs that got in there and started chewing on the leaves. It was not suitable for clothing. Okay? Would Adam have known that? No. They were just looking for temporary clothing. Okay? That's literally all they were doing. They were just looking for temporary clothing when they did that. Okay? I mean, it basically just says that then both of the eyes of them were opened. This is in verse 7, 3:7. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. I mean, it's like, literally, and they made leaves. I mean, they just took leaves and put them on. And if you've ever, picked up leaves, they're very scratchy. You could have an allergic reaction to them. They weren't ideal clothing, okay? But again, they didn't know any better because in the previous chapter, okay, in 2:25, they basically said they were naked and they felt no shame, okay? They didn't have to worry about clothing or anything like that, okay? So, the point being that if you bring in millions or billions of years of evolution to the Bible, you have a heresy. Because now you have death before sin, and you have death creating man, not man being created by God. Okay? And don't get it twisted. It's the other way around. It's not, God guided these processes to create man. No. God created man, and it was good. And man fucked it up. And I'm going to say that, okay, because he did. Okay? And we've been fucking this planet ever since. Okay? We've been fucking each other ever since. We are sinful beings because of Adam and Eve. Okay? And that's why the world is in the state that it's in. It's not because of evolution. it's because of us. We're the sinful ones. Okay? God wants us to come back to Him, but we choose to do things that don't help that process. Okay? Because it's a choice. Alright. I think I'm going to end it here because it's been almost an hour, and I kind of need to stop talking because it's getting kind of late where I'm at as of filming this. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think of the series so far, and let me know what you think of some of the points that I brought up. Once I get done with this video, I just filmed another video on a different video about the manipulative nature of the Christian gospel. So go check that out. Watch this video here, and let me know what you think. After I get done with this particular video, I got 13 minutes and 50 seconds left, and I don't know exactly how much of that is going to be the end. It's going to be like necessarily going to be the the ending of the video. I don't know if she's going to go all the way to the very, very end, because a lot of them will have an outro, or they might talk about something, or do something towards the end. And like I said, I haven't looked forward, so I might do that before I film the next part. I might go forward and look at it. But see, the reason why it's taking me so long to get through this video is because she is trying to inject so much untruth that I have to detangle it, okay? And I'm trying to let her speak, but there are times when I need to pause and just kind of like go, no, this is not how things work in the real world, okay? We have to be the ones, we Christians have to be the ones that have to answer for, that have to answer these people for this stuff, because if we don't, no one will, okay? And that's part of our requirement as, as Christians. We have to provide answers. Okay? So I'm going to do that. And then once I get done with that, I have another Emma Thorne video that came across my feed. And I talked in the manipulative debunk that I don't like actively search out channels and like go pick stuff. Okay? This stuff just literally just comes across my feed. And I saw this video that was basically titled like how Noah didn't build his ark in 40 years or some stupid thing like that. And it was like more stupid questions from Christians or some stupid thing. I don't know. It's basically like a whole bunch of questions that I think she's going to try to like give weird answers for. So what I'm going to do is after we get done with this, I'll go into that one and we'll do that. Okay, like I said, I'm putting the Left Foot Media on hold. I'm going to do the Bible debunk, the Bible Flat Earth debunk. I'm doing this debunk, and I'm doing the manipulative debunk right now. Once I get done with that, I'll go back to the Left Foot Media really fast. I will do the Left Foot Media video, finish that up, and then try to circle back around, and I'll see what else comes up and go from there. Again, I have a lot of movies that I'd like to be able to sit down and do some, do some stuff on. Like I still haven't gotten my James Bond retrospective. I need to do that. But I just, it's like I have so much to do and not enough time to do it, and not enough space on my computer to do it. Plus, I'm my own editor, I do all my own stuff, so it's kind of up to me, okay? My channel grows, and I get more people, and if I decide to get like a Patreon or something, then maybe, because I can afford to buy some extra like hard drives where I can store some videos so that I can film some videos and then store them on an external drive, and then be able to like pull the raw footage off, be able to edit it, and then be able to upload it and then delete it, because I also don't have internet where I'm currently filming. So the only way that I can actually do this is I have to film it, and then I have to edit it, and then I have to put it into a video file, then I have to take it and put it up on the internet. And so right now I'm filming these in like chunks. And so I'll like film like 3 or 4 videos, and then I will go back and like upload those later. Okay? And right now I'm trying to upload on Sundays. So, that way I upload like 3 or 4 videos, and that way people can enjoy them during the week, and I'll answer some of my comments and do some of those kind of things, and then from there I will then go on. So anyway, as we say, we will see you on the next one.